It's been quite an incredible weekend at Albert Park so far for the V8 Supercar, the Supercar Series, the Coates Hire Supercar Challenge. Race 3 coming your way very, very shortly. A unique qualifying format this weekend. There were 3 sessions on Thursday afternoon to set the grids for these races. I should say 4 sessions. Jack Perkins alongside me. Quali 3 set the grid for this race. It's a little bit complicated, but the net result is Fabian Coulthard is on pole. His teammate right behind him is Scott McLaughlin. And at the moment, they're 1-1 for Shell V-Power Racing and DJR Team Penske. It's game on between the teammates.
Yeah, it is. It was a cool format, actually. So 4 races. We saw 4 qualifying sessions determine the grid, and this is the result of qualifying 3 for race 3. Fabian Coulthard, pole position. His 3rd pole position for the weekend. Jamie Whincup, very much improved. He was 4th, 3rd, and now 2nd for this one. Scotty McLaughlin in 3rd, Chaz Mostert 4th, and James Courtney in the Mobile HSV dealer team in 5th. Back down the grid, Todd Kelly in this, a good job. James Moffat, Craig Lowndes, Timmy Blanchard, Cameron Waters, Garth Tander finished 4th yesterday, good job, but didn't qualify so well here. And on the back row of the grid, we've got Tim Slade and Simona Di Silvestro,
who was really good in race 1 yesterday, finished 13th. PB result in her all-too-brief Supercars career so far. Unfortunately had a throttle jam open on the Harvey Norman Nissan in race number 2 and ended up parked on the side of the road. Couple of updates for you yesterday, big dramas. The big talking point all day was the crash at turn 1. Nick Percat had brake failure at 250 k's an hour, ended up crashing into Lee Holdsworth. Percat definitely a non-starter for the remainder of the weekend. He's already down in Geelong getting ready for next weekend's round of the Australian Karting Championship, where he'll make a return in the KZ2 class. Lee Holdsworth, Preston Hire Racing, they're going to work on that car and they're desperately trying to get back on track for tomorrow.
Yeah, both team cars are actually back at their respective team workshops. We saw the Albury team, Brad Jones, have got their car back up there already and they're busy pulling that car apart, getting it ready for the next championship round. And we saw pictures as well of Lee Holdsworth's Commodore back at Team 18, and they're actually trying their best to get the car back out here for tomorrow.
It's worth taking another look at that because it was a remarkable incident and it might be a talking point for a bit longer this season. So this was race 1 yesterday. Nick Percat, 250 k's an hour across the runoff area at turn 1 and cannon into an unfortunate Lee Holdsworth who had absolutely no idea what was going on.
It's so hard to portray the feeling as a driver when you're Nick Percat there and you've got no brakes. It's the worst possible feeling at 250 kilometres an hour. And let me tell you, he's done his very best to avoid what's happened here. He nearly got the gap between those 2 cars, and there's the end result. A lot of damage, a ruptured fuel cell and a lot of rear damage, broken rear screen. And as I said, that's back up at Albury at the Brad Jones Racing Team headquarters, where the guys are getting that thing repaired for the next race in a couple of weeks down at Symmons Plains in Tasmania.
Well, that's right. It's less than a fortnight away, 2 weekends from now, basically. And the thing with Symmons Plains is you've got to get on the boat to get down there. So the cars need to be down at the docks, not too far from Albert Park, in a pretty short space of time. So a big job for Brad Jones Racing and Team 18 to get those cars fixed. But they'll be good to go for the next round of the Virgin Australia Supercars Championship. This isn't for points, as we keep referencing, but boy, they've had at it so far this weekend. Chaz Mostert penalised yesterday for turning Shane Van Gisbergen around in race 2. That caused some dramas, and there's been some discussions already about the judicial system. Tim Edwards, I saw, had a bit of a discussion about punishment fitting the crime and also people getting penalised for one thing and not another. It's the age-old story in supercar racing, isn't it, about the way they penalise and judge incidents. And this, a new system in race control this year, we should mention, that are probably still trying to find their way.
Yeah, it's an ever-improving thing, and look, it's hard. Every incident on track is a different corner at a different racetrack, and they're all unique. So, look, they're doing their best. We've got Craig Baird up there with Michael Massey, and look, they're working their very best to do something good. But this is going to be an exciting race. Race number 3, 13 laps, rolling starts, something we don't see throughout the Supercars Championship season. The red lights are on. Fabian Coulthard has control of the field, and when the red lights are out, the race is underway.
And for the first time, his teammate right behind him, but gets that critical inside run. But McLaughlin's starts have been really good. Messy lineup, but anyway, they go green. Racing for race 3 in the Coates Hire Supercar Challenge. Whincup pretty good. Round the outside, the Red Bull HRT Commodore. Coulthard leads them through. Mostert's been racy on the opening lap so far this weekend. Bright's around. He's out quicker than Virat Kohli. Around he goes at turn 1.
Look, it looked like it was going to be incident-free, but Bridie's got caught up as we head down into turn 3. So it's Fabian Coulthard, Jamie Whincup back down the pack here. That's Garth Tander on the outside of Rick Kelly. Lots of jostling for positions here. Good two-wide race in here. That's Courtney on the outside of David Reynolds. Can he stay up the inside through here?
Oh.
Side by side, this is great racing. Courtney still up the inside of Reynolds.
Yeah,
right. 5th and 6th.
Racing room given by Reynolds, but nice little exchange between those two. Caruso behind them. He's third overall in the points. Was that Todd Kelly getting served? It was, and he's in trouble. He'll get gobbled up by Shane Van Gisbergen. And there's a real freight train behind him here. Really busy. That's for 10th through to about 15th place.
It was Shane Van Gisbergen, got into the rear of Todd Kelly. Shane's done a great job. He started the rear of the field, and he's got his way up to 11th, so he's carved his way through the field and done a great job thus far. Here's Tim Slade up the inside of his teammate, Tim Blanchard.
He fired it off on his one lap in Quali 3, Van Gisbergen, for this race. So started 25th, shown 11th at the moment. So the first 2 or 3 Ks of his motor race have been extraordinary. Down to turn 13. It's Coulthard, Whincup, McLaughlin, Mostert and Reynolds. Just behind James Courtney, 5th and 6th. Reynolds' opening laps so far this weekend have not been good, Jack. So it's nice to see the Erebus car basically maintaining its position from where it started. Just behind them is Michael Caruso, who's 3rd in round points for the moment, so he'll be looking to work his way forward. Then Will Davison, then James Moffat and Rick Kelly rounding out the top 10. 1 lap down, 12 to go.
So this is the first time we've been here with the super soft Dunlop tyre, and it's a fresh set of tyres for all the cars. Qualifying 3 saw them use set number 3, and they have to use that set for the race. So no varying tyre strategies this race. It is the warmest track conditions we've seen all weekend for these cars. But Fabian Coulthard just snuck his lead out to 0.8 of a second. Scotty is ranging up on the back of Jamie Whincup. Those Red Bull cars, while they've managed to get a pole position for tomorrow's race, and Jamie qualified second, running second today, they haven't looked to have the speed of these Penske cars in the races. And you can see that straight away. Scotty's right on the back of Jamie Whincup, and it's allowed Fabian to skip away and get a little bit of a margin between him and the car behind.
And if you weren't with us yesterday, you missed out on 2 1-2 results for the Shell V-Power racing team. And Roger Penske was up watching that first race late last night in Detroit. This is the start. Now, it's all under investigation. Start procedure being investigated. There's going to be a bunch of cars in strife for that, I think. It was very messy in the back of the field. And that's probably how Van Gisbergen got a bunch of spots, because they're carving each other up on the run into turn 1.
It's hard to work out exactly what's happened here, but there's lots of contact. There's cars 4, 5 wide. One of the GRM cars getting bumped wide. Dale Wood there off on the grass. And that's Moff, I believe, got turned around there on the exit of turn 1. Look at this argy-bargy every Woods up the inside there, which has then forced him into Scotty Pye, and that's what got Jason Bright. And then Moff's got turned around down there. You see exactly what happened there, but Simona Di Silvestro also off on the racetrack. Scott
Pye's just taken a 2 or 3 pit lane, and James Courtney's gone into pit lane and hasn't come out the other side. So he's parked the Wilson Security GRM Commodore that, as you mentioned earlier, was really good yesterday. Promising signs for that team that's pretty busy off-season building new race cars for a change of manufacturer in the off-season. So just over a second now, the margin. Coulthard to Whincup, then it's McLaughlin and Mostert and Courtney and Reynolds, Caruso, Davison, Moffat and Rick Kelly 10th. Van Gisbergen remains 11th. Just pop into the back of the shot there with Todd Kelly behind him, and then Mark Winterbottom 13th. Winterbottom with a bit of angst after Thursday, Jack, complaining about the braking problems that have been ongoing since the Clipsal 500 Adelaide, the first round of the championship proper this year. Seems to be ongoing. Had reasonable pace in race 2 yesterday, mired down in the field in race 1, and only 13th for the champion of 2 years ago.
And yesterday we saw a lot of brake lockups from a lot of different people. Cam Waters, James Courtney, and lots of competitors were locking loaded side tyres. So obviously pushing those Dunlop tyres to the absolute maximum and haven't quite got the sweet spot. So Mark Winterbottom looking for improvement this weekend, back in 13th. Hopefully they've been able to find some of the reasons why they've had braking issues earlier on in the weekend.
There's going to be a post-race investigation as well for Shane Van Gisbergen versus Todd Kelly. We saw the back of that up at turn 7, the top of the circuit here at Albert Park. Fisticuffs on the opening lap, so I'll look at that after the race.
Chaz Mostert looking very racy here in 4th behind Scotty McLaughlin. He's been the pick of the PRA cars this weekend. Chaz, he's had good speed across the first 3 races, and he's showing that again here. He's got the lights on. looking to put a bit of pressure on Scotty, but yesterday found himself with a drive-through penalty after that contact with Shane van Gisbergen.
What's the feedback been so far on the tyre, the ultra-soft tyre that we're running for the first time this weekend that will be something of a staple throughout this year's Supercars Championship?
Boys, I'm just watching the vision here. I mean, Fabian Coulthard, I think you've got to stop sometimes and just take stock of what's going on here. He's been a great driver for a long time, but when we watch him now, since Scotty McLaughlin has arrived, I'm just watching now, he's punching out faster sector time one after the next. That's Jamie Whincup, remember, behind him, and he's driving away from him. Now, Fabian's very, very talented, no mistake, but this is really, I'm going to grab Ryan Story a minute and have a chat to him. This team is on their game. The litmus test for me will be when we leave here and go to Symmons Plains, and if for 3 different circuits in a row they can produce this same form, this will be definitely the clash of the Titans this year.
Yeah, I agree with you, Larko. I mean, as you see, this is Shane van Gisbergen trying to sneak up the inside of Rick Kelly, but when you've got 2 of the better drivers in the category, in Scotty McLaughlin, Fabian Coulthard, it makes you rise to the occasion. And Scotty will be putting in the pressure on Fabian, Fabian putting the pressure on Scotty, and the net result is a team doing a better job on the racetrack, and they've been able to give those guys good tools to play with as well. But it certainly makes you drive better, and we see that in Formula One as well. You know, you really need to push yourself to get the most out of the car, and your teammate is your reference point for where you are. So really encouraging signs for the sport to have someone to the calibre of Penske take it up to the Red Bull Racing team.
And I think somewhat unfairly, there's been a lot of comments around that, oh, Rogers has come in and thrown money at it, and that's why they've got success. But money can only get you so far if you don't have the right people involved. What Roger Penske is famous for doing is building the team, building the right people behind it, and then empowering them to do the job. And I think we're finally seeing that after now 3 years of effort, we're finally seeing the puzzle all come together.
And it was no different when Triple Eight first came to Australia.
100%.
They grabbed Campbell Liddell straight out of Stone Brothers Racing, who was the form team at the time. So they've done the same thing. It's about getting the people around you, exactly as you said, put a good team of people together and build on that.
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, they've just Penske's almost emulating what Triple Eight did way back starting 2003, 2004, taking their time, having a look at the category and building. By conversely of that, if you look at Lee Holdsworth, I had a good chat to Lee at Clipsal. I mean, he's down the field a little bit in a single car entry. So it doesn't matter how much data he has access to, which he can get through Roland Dane or Triple Eight data, unless you've got the guy on the other side of the garage on a similar wage package fighting for a pay increase or a seat the following year, the level of competition is not the same. So I'm thoroughly impressed with Fabian Coulthard, to go back to my original point, the way he's taken the choice to step up to the plate. Well done, Fabian.
Comment from Mark Larkham in pit lane, lap 4 of 13. Fabian Coulthard, Jamie Whincup and Scott McLaughlin, the top 3. More of the Supercars after this. to Albert Park as we continue our countdown to Formula One qualifying. It's not far away. A lot of anticipation around this great facility. A big crowd here on Saturday. Looking forward to finding out who will get the first Formula One pole position of the season. Supercars are on track. There's 8 laps to go and it's Fabian Coulthard still leading while we're away, Jack. This was awesome. Tim Slade carving his way from the back of the field in this race. Cam Waters, bit of Tim Blanchard in for fun as well on the outside. Good little exchange.
Yeah, good clean racing. A little bit of argy-bargy. That's what we come to see. The fans like a little bit of bumping and rubbing. Slade probably didn't know that Cam was still stuck around the outside there, but he was able to get the switch back, got up the inside down the straightaway and got the passing move done.
And Tim continued his march forward, so he qualified poorly for this race. Ended up starting back. Waters continued on from the old over-under and a bit more of a hip and shoulder on the outside. See that kind of stuff at the MCG on a Friday night. Good bit of racing though. That's what we love about supercar racing. So Tim Slade's up to 14th from the back, and alongside him on the grid was Shane Van Gisbergen, who's 10th. So they've blazed their way from the back of the field. Yeah,
it's all spread out at the front, to be honest. I mean, the front 4 have all drifted apart. Courtney has managed to get onto the back of Chaz Mostert, so just starting to maybe lose a little bit of rear tyre life in the midway point of this race. We see here Reynolds also falling back into the clutches of Michael Caruso. He's done a great job so far this weekend, Michael Caruso. He was 3rd on the round points, if you like, coming into this race, and he's got good consistent speed there and always the most consistent of the Nissan runners and flying the flag there. He's got the lights on in pursuit of Davey Reynolds.
So very competitive racing all the way through the pack. So Fabian Coulthard out in front. It's been an amazing weekend for Shell V-Power Racing, the brand they're running under this year for DJR Team Penske. Mark Larkham, it's an awesome story, isn't it, the way this team has evolved?
Well, it is, mate. And we had a bit of a chat to Roland Dane yesterday, and he made a comment about how much money Roger Penske's got, and it really surprised me, the reaction that's had from that comment. Pretty obvious comment, I thought. But when you look around the room here, so I'm standing smack in the middle of DJR Team Penske. Now, one of the things you notice straight away with this team, forget performance for a minute, they look good, they look sharp. The cabinets, the octanorm, the panelling, the signage. Now, that's not money, that's a desire to look like you're going to win, even if you're not necessarily going to win. And I really like that in a race team. But a guy I'm keen to talk to, hey Ryan, sorry to bump in, mate. Team principal down here at Dick Johnson Racing. I was just saying to the audience, I was staggered by how much reaction we got to my little chat with Roland yesterday, where he acknowledged, I thought, a pretty obvious statement, that Roger's got more money than he has. Roger's got more money than everyone. But I guess it's how you use it.
It is indeed, and look, the great thing about our partnership with Roger Penske is that we have stability and we have security. But let me tell you, he gives us the tools to get the job done. It's our job to do it. And when you look at the house that Roland's built, Roger and everyone at our organisation has tremendous respect for what he's done over the last 10 years. There are very few examples in world sport, yet alone motorsport, where anyone has been able to demonstrate that degree of dominance.
Hang on, Ryan, let me pull you up there. Tremendous respect to the point that you want to knock him off his perch and tread on him.
Of course, we wouldn't be here if we didn't want to win. No one's here to come second. No one's here to come.
And no one enjoying it more than that bloke over the back there. You can see Dick Johnson. Hey, Dick! Yeah, he's a happy man, happy camper. Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate the chat.
Delighted. Thanks, Larko. Great scoop yesterday.
Thanks, Larko. He's up and about. Great story, Ryan's story as well. Well, literally story, how he's been involved. Started out with Dick Johnson Racing and helped facilitate that partnership with Roger Penske and building that program. This is an almighty scrap, Jack Perkins. It's the World Championship for 16th place.
I've never seen the race for 16th have so much intensity about it. The 3 guys here are absolutely elbows out, lots of damage, and the team owners would not be impressed, I guarantee you. There's a bit of unnecessary leaning on each other going on here, especially, like we say, it's only for 16th, but I'm sure the fans are loving it.
Forget the team owners, I love it. It's great. Good battle. Jason Bright and the mega Ford behind them. Speak to Brighty. Is this going to be a new lease on life for now one of the oldest blokes in the field? Thought to be towards the end of his career as Dale Wood goes down the inside of Blanchard and they go at it again. But new start for Jason Bright, back with Pro Drive Racing Australia. New colours. Is it the lease of life he needs to continue his career?
Yeah, I mean, Jason Bright on his day is without doubt one of the best drivers we've got in the category, and we've seen that from time to time again. Bathurst winner, V8 Supercar race winner through the years, but I guess the relationship with Brad Jones Racing got to its end road, and both parties felt like it was time to move on. And Brighty's now with PRA, you know, a big 4-car team, bigger in stature, I guess, to BJR, and, you know, could provide him with a lease of life. And I'm sure, you know, he would have been disappointed with his start to the season at Adelaide wasn't what he was hoping for, but it does take time. You don't just jump in another car and go really good. We'll see that with Bottas and the Mercedes team in Formula One.
Yeah.
It's very hard to just jump in and get to your potential straight away, so that'll be a watch this space story throughout the year.
I'm going to say, it's nice to see Timmy Blanchard up and about and racing as well. And I know he's only 18th and he'll want to be further forward, but he is an immense talent. Former Australian Formula Ford champion, great family, iconic Victorian motor racing family, the Blanchards. His old man so heavily involved in the sport. Still races historic Formula Fords every now and then too.
They were both racing at Phillip Island last weekend, and I raced go-karts against him. Great, as you say, great family, and good to see him out there on the grid, and yeah, moving his way forward, certainly learning more and more about the Brad Jones Commodore every weekend.
Todd Kelly following Shane van Gisbergen, their 10th and 11th. Todd in the car sales Nissan. His teammate Michael Caruso just a bit further up the road, P7 at the moment. Round points have Fabian Coulthard in front of Scott McLaughlin, 2:19 to 2:08. But McLaughlin's got a handicap because he has to start tomorrow's final race from 26th position. So he will have it all to do. He lost his lap time in the final qualifying session for a track limits breach on the exit of turn 12, I think it was, Jack. That fast chicane at the back of the circuit went too wide, lost his lap time for gaining an advantage. So he goes from the back, and it makes it very much easier for car number 12 to seal the deal for the round. But the other problem that he's got to deal with is that car 88 will start it from pole position. So there's going to be a really feisty battle at the pointy end of the field.
Yeah, Scotty will be looking to replicate what Shane's done, although I'm not sure we'll see the end of Shane finishing where he is. I think he might have had a little bit of a sneaky run up on the back of that rolling start, which might get looked into after, but it doesn't matter tomorrow. The starting order for that race is, as you say, from qualifying, and it's a whole other race. But the trophies are awarded at the end of the weekend as accumulation of points, so that does hurt Scotty in the long run. But it'll be interesting to see tomorrow. Fabian Coulthard will be off second for the first time this weekend, with Jamie Whincup lining up on pole position. The
qualifying system I thought was interesting and maybe worthy of further thought. They wanted to look at it as a way of spicing up and perhaps mixing up the grid a little bit. 5 guys qualified in the top 10 for all 4 races. 7 qualified in the top 10 for 3 of the 4. But outside of that, there were 17 different drivers that qualified in the top 10 at some point for the 4 races. So quite the variety inside the top 10. So in a way, it has helped spice up the grid a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I spoke to the drivers after that qualifying session, and it was effectively like doing 4 shootouts. You only got 1 lap in that session, 1 set of tyres. It was only 10 minutes. So, you know, the margin for error was so small that if you did make a mistake, it was always going to jumble up the order. And the most consistent runner was Fabian Coulthard, netting 3 pole positions and a second, followed by Jamie Whincup, who was 4th, 3rd, 2nd and 1st. But Scotty McLaughlin, he was 2nd, 2nd, 3rd, and then, as you see, made a mistake in that last one, and will start tomorrow. So big consequence there for making a mistake in qualifying.
It's James Moffat, who this year moves across to Holden just to add another supercars manufacturer to his career CV. He's been in the Ford, the Nissan, the Volvo, and now the GM product. Just needs to dust off one of Betty's Erebus E63 AMGs and have a crack in that just to complete the sweep. But he's going well. He's had a solid weekend, and I think promising for everyone involved that both of these GRM cars have been pacey all weekend long. And I said yesterday in race 2 that I feel like the sport's in a good place when GRM have got competitive cars, because they're good fun guys to have at the front of the field. They're a great team. They don't do it an enormous amount of money, but Gary Rogers and now Barry, who's heavily involved in that team, give them the equipment to do the job. Great fun to see them at the point end of the field. Both of those guys performing well.
And we spoke about it yesterday. It's a learning year for them as well, because they've changed the aerodynamic package on the car. They've gone from Volvo aero package, Volvo engines, back to now Walkinshaw engines and a Holden aero kit. So they've found that the mechanical balance of the car has changed quite a lot based on that aero grip. You see here Moff doing a good job, and yeah, constantly learning now how to retune the cars based on the Holden aero package.
Bit of chat around that he and Garth have got the same ideas with how to take that car and what it's behaving as well, and that's good to see, because it might have been a character building year last year, I think, for Moff, perhaps the last 2 years, against Scott McLaughlin, who takes so much of the limelight. I mean, he is a superstar of our sport, but Moffat's not without ability. The guy can steer, so it might have been a tough couple of years, and this might be a nice sort of control-alt-delete, bit of a reset for good guy in the paddock.
And it's no different to we spoke about Bridie. You know, you come into a new team, it's very difficult to hit the ground running. I mean, Scotty's obviously doing it with Penske, but it is hard. You know, the cars are, while they all look very similar, they've all got their little idiosyncrasies that make them difficult to extract the lap time out of it. Qualifying is the key in this game.
Should mention while we talk about famous surnames, just want to bring up the Perkins surname for a bit. Great last night, your old man inducted to the CAMS Australian Motorsport Hall of Fame just in the CBD in Melbourne at a big function last night. Enormous accomplishment for one of the greats of our sport.
Yeah, look, something that the family is very proud of. Dad's achievements in motorsport have been awesome, to say the least, and really cool for him to get recognised at the Australian Motorsport Hall of Fame, and it was a great night, along with 20 other inductees, so well done to all that got inducted.
And some great synergies, of course, with this weekend. LP and his brief Formula One career in the 1970s. Probably would have liked to have gone on with that had the finance been available, but I think for our sport here, certainly many of my childhood memories were watching your old man carve up Mount Panorama and Brock in the HDT and early days of the Holden Racing team, and then Perkins Engineering and the Castrol cars and their amazing success in the mid-1990s. Incredible run of Bathurst victories. It's a great story. Well done to LP, and happy birthday for a couple of weeks ago as well. So a couple of laps to go. Coulthard by 1.3 seconds over Jamie Whincup. We're watching car 22. This is a car that you'll be familiar with later on in the season as you renew your relationship with James Courtney and the Walkinshaw team.
Yeah, looking forward to the endurance races, obviously getting back for the third year with that team. New name, HSV, Mobile HSV Racing, but good encouraging signs here for James. Hasn't got the first two qualifying sessions together, but qualifying fifth for this race, and you know, running pretty good pace up behind Chaz Moster, which is very encouraging. Looks like Whincup is actually starting to reel in Fabian a bit. The gap's down to 1.0. It was right out to 2 seconds at one stage, so Whincup's obviously found some speed. Fabian might have just started to get a little bit too much out of those Dunlop Super Softs, and as we touched on, the sun's out, track temperature's the highest we've seen all weekend, so certainly different conditions out there for the drivers.
Talk about that team that for a long time the Holden Racing Team brand was the team name, but it's always been Walkinshaw behind it. And the rebranding of that team, I heard an interview with the commercial director there a couple of weeks ago about how they went about rebranding that outfit, and the fact that the number one thing they've been most proud about is the take-up from the existing fans that have come over from that HRT brand and stayed with the team as an outfit under its new identity.
Yeah, I mean, and it's full credit to the Walkinshaw family. Ryan Martina here this weekend. They do a great job supporting not only the race team, but Australian business, and the Holden Special Vehicles business will continue on. And it's great to still be flying the flag for Australian manufacturing. So still not, you know, while the Holden Racing team has moved on to the Red Bull team, we're still flying the flag for Holden as well.
And there's a book coming out. Our great friend V8 Sleuth put together about the history of that team, a lot of the cars that have raced in it. Great heritage, one of the oldest, most storied teams in our sport. Final lap at Albert Park in race 3 of the Coates Hire Supercar Challenge. And it's so far gone all the way of Shell V Power Racing and DJR Team Penske. Coulthard first. Whincup's got the gap to under a second, so there was pressure. Coulthard's just got to hold on for half a lap to take his second win from 3 races. We talked all weekend about his Albert Park record. It's extraordinary. And since 2011 coming into the weekend, he had 16 top 10 race finishes from 19 races. So he's got 3 more from another 3 races. So he's just had an unbelievably good run at this place, and it's continued on.
He obviously likes this track. He really clicks with it. As you say, he's had success here with other teams. And so far this weekend, it's been a brilliant performance with the 3 poles out of the 4 qualifying sessions. And about to, if he can keep it together here, grab his second win for the weekend. Puts him in good position for the overall results come the finish of tomorrow's race.
Well, and these two will line up 1-2 in the race tomorrow with Whincup on pole and Coulthard second. But it's the battle we've all wanted to see. DJR Team Penske v 888. And it's the Shell Ford in front of Jamie Whincup. Coulthard's got another one. The end margin was 0.8 of a second. It's just all building to the final race, Jack, tomorrow afternoon. It's going to be good. McLaughlin third, then Mostert fourth at the end. Courtney was fifth. David Reynolds P6. I think they'll be pretty satisfied with that down at the Erebus camp. We didn't see much of Davey in that race, but solid P6 for the Penrite Holden.
Yeah, absolutely, and they'll be very encouraged by that. It's still, you know, I guess a relatively new team down there at Erebus, although they've been around for a long time. This is only their second year in the Holden Commodores, and Dave Reynolds and his engineer, Al McVean, are working very hard on getting competitive gear for Dave. And confirmation of the results, Fabian Coulthard picking up his second win of the weekend, Jamie Whincup in second. Third was Scotty McLaughlin, fourth, Chaz Mostert. Fifth, James Courtney, as we said, that's his best result so far this weekend. As for Davey Reynolds in sixth, and Michael Caruso, first of the Nissans in seventh. Great job for him, and he's currently doing pretty well. Third in the points, so that's encouraging for tomorrow.
Will Davison was eighth in front of James Moffat and Shane Van Gisbergen next, so there's a good scrap on for that. I'll lead you straight there. It's actually Jamie Whincup third for the round, so he actually just jumped in front of Michael Caruso. Apologies for that. So that'll be a fight tomorrow in the final race to see who can get on the final spot on the podium. Todd Kelly, Mark Winterbottom, 12th. Slade from the back of the field to 13th. I think the BJR cars have got pace. Craig Lowndes might in the midfield, as he has been all weekend long. They've got some work to do at Team Vortex.
Yeah, Craig's obviously not getting the most out of it. It's a new engineer, a relatively new engineer for him. He was working with Ludo Lacroix, who sensationally left to Penske over the off-season. And, you know, Craig's certainly finding his feet to get the most out of that 888 Commodore, and we all like to see Craig Lowndes running competitively. Young Alex Rullo, he's very young. Most of his mates are still at school, and to be out here racing supercars is fantastic.
So, exciting stuff. There's one supercars race to go. It'll be tomorrow before the Grand Prix, but we're counting down to Formula One qualifying. It's not that far away.